What's going on, Elevate? Happy Sunday morning. Welcome to another Sunday of small groups. I'm really excited for you to get to see the faces of some of your friends, of your small group leaders who I know have been praying for you and have been eager to get to see your face again and see how you've been doing. So I have a few announcements for you before we get a quick intro into our lesson, and then you can be able to start with your lesson this morning. So the first thing I want to give you in the way of an announcement is more of an encouragement. I want to encourage you to have one or two people this week that you're specifically praying that God would put them on your mind and that you can check on them, okay? Make this somebody that maybe you haven't talked to in the last month that we have been away from each other and we've been separated from our community. So just think about that one or two people in your life that you would ask the Holy Spirit to make you sensitive or tender towards so that you can check on them and make sure they're doing good, make sure that they know that they are missed, that they are valued, they're loved, and that somebody is thinking about them. And just ask them for ways you can pray for them, see how they're doing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and just make sure that they're taking care of themselves. And in the way of that same idea, I want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. This is whenever it would be most easy to get into some really bad habits, to get really lazy and to not take care of yourself. And so I shared this just really quickly on a Wednesday night a few weeks ago, but I want to do this again and just how you can maybe take care, just a couple of tips, how you can take care of yourself and care for yourself a little bit. The first thing is for you to go to bed at a reasonable time. And I know you go, Chris, why would I do that? I can go to bed as late as I want. I can wake up as late as I want. Let me encourage you, get into a routine. Keep a routine and go to bed at a reasonable time. And on the other side of that, second thing, set an alarm and wake up, right? Don't get into a habit of hitting the snooze button 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Some of you, 25 alarms set every 3 minutes. Don't get into that habit of doing that. Go to bed at a reasonable time, set an alarm and wake up at a reasonable time. Don't get lazy. Don't be undisciplined during this time, and it's really easy to be that way. Take a shower, get dressed. Some of you may need that for obvious reasons, but others, this is going to make you feel better, just in general. There's nothing more to it than that. It will just make you feel better. Set 3 goals for your day. Okay? That'll make it to where I can look back and say that I was productive. You can do more than 3, but set 3 legitimate goals that you want to accomplish every single day so that you can have that sense of, I did something today. If you can't do much, do something that will help you grow, right? Don't just binge out on Netflix, social media, or do things that really don't matter at all. I want to encourage you, do things that matter, do things that will help you grow. I also want to encourage you to create a workspace where you can be effective and efficient. Don't just try to do all of your work in bed. Bed is for sleeping. You should get up, get dressed, get showered, eat a healthy meal, and go sit somewhere where you've created a workspace where you can be effective, where it's organized and it's not chaos all around you. And take breaks. Go outside. Go on a walk. Do something like that. Do something that's healthy. Go just breathe in a couple of breaths of fresh air. It will be good for you, good for your soul, good for your body. Get some exercise. Maybe if you want to do some sit-ups or some jumping jacks or some lunges, or if you have somewhere to be able to go on a run or something like that, just go do something to take care of yourself. And then lastly, eat healthy. Don't just binge out eating whatever you have laying around the house. Eat healthy. It'll do your body good. It'll do your mind good, and you will feel better. So just a couple of things there for you to be encouraged by, and just tips so that during this season, like I said, when it's easiest to get most lazy and most undisciplined, let's just fight against that as much as we can. And the last announcement I have for you is we're still having Elevate on Wednesday nights. I encourage you just tune into that live stream. I've appreciated those of you that have done that. We're still asking questions and interacting back and forth with you guys on those questions, and great responses to our last Wednesday night where we started a new series on the family. So you're stuck inside with your family right now. And so this is a very timely lesson that we're learning about how the world is imperfect, people are imperfect, That means that your family is imperfect and you are part of your family. We are all imperfect, and how we can treat each other, those that we care deeply about, those who we love most, those that we're closest to, that also wound us the deepest because of how close we are to them, how we can interact with them and respond to them and live in a Christ-like way with them. Okay, so I'm excited. We're going to be in that topic for the next 3 weeks. So I encourage you to be a part of that. It will be very practical for you and very helpful for you guys. So as far as our lesson goes, like I said, the intro is going to be relatively short. If you remember by review for last week, we talked about John the Baptist and him preparing a way for the coming Messiah. Well, this week we're going to talk about the birth of Jesus, right? And so this Christmas story idea that seems out of place in the middle of the year instead of at the end of our year, but there's a lot of questions that this text is going to bring up, or a lot of different scenarios that this text is going to help us address. For example, like, what do you do when you don't understand what's going on in life? Anybody feel like that right now? Yes. Right? What do I do in those moments? How do I live whenever fear is my natural reaction? Whenever, if I were to be fearful, worry, anxious about something, everybody would go, oh, I mean, that's a legitimate response to what's going on in your life right now. That's what our story is going to address this morning. Or what should I do instead of fear? It doesn't help if you just say, hey, don't fear, don't worry, don't be anxious. Okay, don't do that, but instead do what? Right? So that's what this story is going to talk about. And there's a wonderful quote that maybe your small group leader will come back to a couple of times, and it's, God is always doing 10,000 things in your life, and you may be aware of 3 of them. I just think that's a great thing and so true, right? This simple statement could not be more true than in the part of Scripture that we are in this morning, where there had been hundreds and hundreds of years of silence. God had not spoken through prophets anymore. There had been all of these promises, these prophets talking about the coming Messiah, the coming King, and then 400 years of nothing, no prophets, no words from the Lord. And so what would be the natural response of people who would consider themselves followers of the Lord whenever you're not talking to us for 400 years? Doubt would have been the easy thing to resort to. The natural reaction to that would be worry, anxiety, fear, doubt, and everybody would have gone, I mean, that's a normal and legitimate reaction to this. But fortunately, we have the benefit of being on this side of when Jesus came, and so we can look back on all of the things in the Old Testament, look back on the life of Jesus, and look back on everything that happened after that, and we can have a lot more confidence than those people did in that time in the Old Testament. There is a reason that God picked this particular time in history to send his son. There were many details that the waiting world could not see God working in. But from where we stand, the benefit of hindsight, we can see many, many things and signs that point to the powerful hand of God working and continuing to work, right? He's doing 10,000 things, but the people may have only been aware of 3 of them. And so the same thing may be true in us right now in this season. There's 10,000 things that God is doing in the midst of this crazy season that we are in, and we may be only aware of 2 or 3 of them. So whenever we look back, have hindsight in our own lives, and say, God, here's how you continually worked and you were continually faithful in these other moments of my life when I had no clue what you were doing. I had no clue what was going on. But now I look back on it and see you were working all these different things together that I was so completely unaware of, and you worked it out for my good and for your glory. Could he be doing that same thing now? I would venture to guess yes. And so the story that you're going to be in this morning, you're going to get to kind of ask that question of yourself and of your small group, and even as it pertains to the story in that involves Mary and Gabriel, the angel, and whenever fear and doubt, worry, anxiety would have been the natural and easiest response for Mary. Instead, she chose a very different response. And so do we, even though we don't have to understand everything in order to be faithful and confident in the Lord. And so I pray that you guys enjoy your time together this morning. The Lord would teach you something beautiful through the power of his word. So I love you guys. Have a great Sunday, and I'll see you Monday at noon for our lunchtime devotional right back here on YouTube.